the stars burned cold in the empty void of space near Keplora 442. Admiral Vexvar stood on the bridge of his massive flagship Worldrender, watching as his fleet assembled in perfect formation. 212 warships floated in the darkness. Like sleeping giants, their hulls gleamed under the distant starlight, each one bristling with weapons that could crack planets in half. The Vorthok Empire had ruled 3 star systems for over 1,000 years. Their military might was legendary across the galaxy. No species had ever dared to challenge them directly. Today would be no different. At least that is what Admiral Vexvar believed as he gazed upon his armada. "Admiral, all ships report ready for battle," announced Commander Vextel from his position at the communications console. His voice carried the confidence that came from generations of unopposed victories. Vexvar nodded slowly, his 4 arms crossed behind his back in the traditional Vorthok stance of authority. The scales on his reptilian face glittered under the bridge lights. "Excellent. And what of this human vessel that dares to enter our space?" "Still holding position near the 4th planet, sir. Our sensors show it is alone. Just 1 ship against our entire fleet." Vextal could barely contain his amusement. The humans must be either very brave or very stupid. "Stupid," Vexavar replied without hesitation. "Intelligence reports confirm that humans are a primitive species. They have only recently learned to travel between stars. Their technology is centuries behind ours. This will be over quickly." The bridge crew laughed at their admiral's words. They had heard stories about humans from other worlds, a species that fought with crude weapons and simple tactics. Some said humans were aggressive, but aggression meant nothing without the power to back it up far across the system. Hidden in the shadow of an asteroid field, the human warship Soul's Vengeance drifted silently through space. Its sleek hull was dark as midnight, absorbing light rather than reflecting it. Advanced stealth systems kept it invisible to Vorthok sensors, but its own sensors saw everything. Commander Heyman stood in the center of his ship's bridge, studying the holographics display that showed the massive alien fleet. His dark eyes moved from ship to ship, counting weapons, analyzing formations, looking for weaknesses. Around him, his crew worked with quiet efficiency. 212 confirmed hostiles, reported Tactical Officer Biora from her station. Her fingers danced across the control panels, gathering data on each enemy vessel. Dreadnoughts, cruisers, destroyers, and support ships. "They have us outnumbered by more than 200 to 1. "Standard odds for a Tuesday," replied Heyman. With a slight smile, his crew chuckled softly. They had faced impossible odds before and emerged victorious. Today would be no different. Communications Officer Teho looked up from his console. "Commander, I am intercepting their transmissions. They are calling us primitive. They think this will be an easy victory. Let them think that," Heyman said. Calmly, confidence can be a weakness when it becomes arrogance. At the engineering station, Wujin monitored the ship's systems. Every component hummed with barely contained power. The Soul's Vengeance was humanity's newest and most advanced warship. It carried technology that had taken decades to develop and perfect, technology that no other species in the galaxy possessed. "All systems operating at full capacity," Commander Wujin reported. "Quantum drives are stable. Dimensional shields are charged and ready. Weapon systems are online and targeting solutions are locked." Weapons Officer Soyoung flexed her fingers above her control panel. "Quantum torpedoes loaded and ready. Point defense systems active. I can engage targets the moment you give the order." Sir Heyman nodded to each of his officers. His crew was the best humanity had to offer. Each one had been handpicked for this mission. Each one understood what was at stake. This was not just about one battle or one system. This was about humanity's place in the galaxy. The ship's artificial intelligence, speaking with the synthesized voice of Eugen, provided a calm analysis. Enemy fleet composition analyzed. Threat assessment complete. Probability of human victory, 99.7%, and the remaining 0.3%, asked Biora with curiosity. Margin of error in calculations, Eugen replied without emotion. Actual probability of defeat is effectively 0 based on technological superiority. Back on the Worldrender, Admiral Vexvar was growing impatient. His fleet had been in position for over an hour, The human ship continued to hide like a coward. "Send them our standard ultimatum," he commanded. "Surrender immediately, or be destroyed." Commander Vextel activated the long-range communications array. His message boomed across space on all frequencies. "Unknown human vessel, you have entered Vorthok space without permission. Your presence here is an act of war. Surrender your ship immediately and prepare to be boarded. You have 5 minutes to comply before we open fire." The transmission reached the Soul's Vengeance moments later. Teho played it for the bridge crew. When it finished, silence filled the air. Sensor specialist Jin Wu spoke first. "They really believe they can intimidate us with threats. Science." Officer Menesio shook her head. "Their arrogance is remarkable. They assume technological superiority based on numbers alone." Pilot Dong Haiyan kept his hands steady on the controls. "Orders, Commander? Do we respond to their ultimatum?" Heyman considered his options. He could try diplomacy, but the Vorthok had already declared this an act of war. He could withdraw, but that would only encourage them to attack human colonies later. Or he could do what he came here to do. No response, he decided. Let our actions speak for themselves. Medical Officer Yoonji prepared her station for potential casualties, though she suspected there would be none on their side. Haiwan ran final checks on their shield systems. Every member of the crew knew their role. The 5 minutes passed slowly. On the world render, Admiral Vexfar watched his chronometer count down to 0. When no response came from the human ship, he smiled with satisfaction. "Time is up," he announced to his fleet. "All ships, prepare for battle. Target the human vessel and destroy it. Show the galaxy what happens to those who defy the Vorthok Empire." 212 warships began moving toward their target, weapons charged with deadly energy, shields powered to maximum strength. The greatest military force the galaxy had ever seen advanced with confidence toward what they believed would be an easy victory dot in the asteroid field. Commander Heyman gave a single, quiet order that would change the course of galactic history. To cloak the ship, the space around Kepler 442 suddenly shimmered like water, disturbed by a falling stone. Reality seemed to bend and twist as the Soul's Vengeance revealed itself to the galaxy. The human warship materialized from nothing, its dark hull gleaming. Under the distant starlight, Admiral Vexfar's eyes widened as he stared at the main view screen. The human vessel was unlike anything in the Vorthok military database, where Vorthok ships were bulky and covered in armor plating. This ship was sleek and angular. Its surface seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Strange energy patterns danced along its hull like living electricity. "What kind of ship is that?" Vexfar demanded, his 4 arms gesturing at the display. It appeared from nowhere. "Our sensors detected nothing until this moment." Commander Vextel frantically worked, his controls trying to get readings on the mysterious vessel. "Sir, our scanners are having difficulty getting a clear picture. The ship seems to be interfering with our sensors somehow. What readings we do get make no sense." The human ship was smaller than the Vorthok flagship, but something about it made Vexfar feel uneasy. He had commanded fleets for over 50 years. He had seen every type of warship the galaxy had to offer. This was different. This was wrong. "Size comparison?" he asked, trying to keep his voice steady. "Approximately 800 meters long, sir. Much smaller than our dreadnoughts. Our world render alone is 3 times that size." Vextel's confidence was returning. Whatever tricks they used to hide, they are still just one small ship against. "Our entire fleet," Vexfar nodded, pushing away his doubts. Numbers were what mattered in space combat. Mass and firepower determined victory. The humans might have fancy stealth technology, but they were still vastly outnumbered. All ships maintain formation and continue approach. One ship cannot stand against our might, no matter what technology they possess. On the bridge of the Soul's Vengeance, Commander Heyman watched the Vorthok fleet's reaction to their appearance. Several alien ships had stumbled in their formations, surprised by the sudden materialization. Others were scanning them intensively, trying to understand what they were seeing. "Tactical analysis," Biora Heyman requested calmly. Tactical Officer Biora studied her displays with professional interest. Their formation is standard for overwhelming numerical advantage. 3 waves of attack, destroyers and cruisers in front, to absorb damage and test our defenses. Heavy cruisers in the second wave to deliver the main assault. Dreadnoughts in the rear to finish whatever survives. Textbook strategy, observed Science Officer Menesio from her station. They are applying conventional thinking to an unconventional situation. Communications Officer Teho intercepted more Vorthok transmissions. Commander, they are discussing our ship design. They cannot understand our technology. One of their officers is calling our appearance impossible according to known physics. Heyman smiled slightly. Humanity had learned long ago that the universe held more possibilities than most species imagined. While other civilizations focused on building bigger guns and thicker armor, humans had explored the fundamental nature of reality itself. Engineer Wu Jin monitored the ship's advanced systems. The quantum drive hummed with contained power. Dimensional shields operated in frequencies that conventional sensors could not detect. Weapon systems that existed partially outside normal spacetime waited for activation. All systems green across. The board, commander of the ship, is performing perfectly. Stealth systems are still active, even though we are visible. They can see us, but their targeting computers cannot lock onto us properly. Weapons Officer Sa Young flexed her fingers above her control panel. Sir, I have firing solutions on all enemy vessels. The targeting computer has identified weak points in their hull designs. Their shield frequencies are completely predictable. Heyman nodded, but did not give the order to fire yet. Humanity preferred to avoid conflict when possible. Even now, facing an enemy fleet that had declared war on them, he hoped for a peaceful resolution. Teho, open a channel to the Vorthok flagship. Channel open, sir. Heyman's voice carried across space to the world render. His words were calm and measured. Admiral Vexvar of the Vorthok Empire, I am Commander Heyman of the Human Colonial Defense Force. You have made threats against human territory and human lives. I am authorized to offer you one opportunity to withdraw your fleet and return to your own space. The transmission reached the Vorthok flagship moments later. Admiral Vexvar listened to the human's words with growing anger. How dare this primitive species offer him terms? How dare they act as if they held any power in this situation? You think you can negotiate from a position of weakness? Vexvar's reply boomed across the communication channel. You are one ship. Against 200, your technology may be unusual, but you are still vastly outnumbered. Surrender now, and we will make your deaths quick. On the Soul's Vengeance, the crew listened to the Vorthok Admiral's response. Pilot Dong Hian shook his head in disappointment. They refused to see reason. Defense Coordinator Hai One checked her systems one final time. Dimensional shields at full power. All defensive measures ready. They will not be able to touch us. With conventional weapons, Medical Officer Yunji prepared her station for combat, though she suspected her services would not be needed. Medical Bay is ready for casualties, though I expect to treat none on our side. Sensor Specialist Jin Wu studied the enemy fleet's approach. They are spreading out now, trying to surround us. Classic pincer movement. They want to attack from all directions at once. The artificial intelligence Yujin provided tactical analysis in her calm, synthetic voice. Enemy fleet positioning suggests they plan to overwhelm us with concentrated fire from multiple vectors. This is a sound strategy against conventional opponents. But we are not conventional opponents, Heyman observed quietly. Admiral Vex made his final decision. The humans had been given their chance to surrender. Now they would face the consequences of their arrogance. All ships assume attack formation. Prepare to engage the human vessel. Show them the power of the Vorthok Empire. The massive alien fleet began its final approach. Weapon systems charged with deadly energy, shield generators powered up to maximum strength, 212 warships moved with practiced precision toward their target. Commander Heyman watched the enemy fleet's movements on his tactical display. Each ship was represented by a red dot on the holographic projection. So many enemies, all convinced of their superiority, all about to learn a terrible lesson. Final system checks, he ordered his crew. Weapons ready, reported So Young. Shields ready, confirmed Hai One. Engines ready, stated Dong Hin. All systems optimal, concluded Wu Jin. The Vorthok fleet reached optimal firing range. Admiral Vexvar raised his primary arm, ready to give the order that would destroy the Impudent human ship. His fleet was the mightiest military force in known space. Victory was certain. All ships Dexvar commanded opened fire. Commander Heyman felt the familiar calm that came before battle. His crew was ready. His ship was ready. It was time to show the galaxy what humanity had become. "Weapons free," he ordered quietly. "Engage all targets." The first wave of Vorthok plasma bolts streaked across space like angry red stars. Dozens of enemy ships fired at once, their weapons painting the darkness with brilliant streams of superheated energy. The barrage was enough to vaporize a small moon. It struck the Soul's Vengeance with the force of a colliding asteroid. Nothing happened. The plasma bolts simply vanished as they touched the human ship's hull. No explosions, no damage, no visible effect at all. The deadly energy that should have melted through armor plating disappeared, like raindrops hitting hot sand. Admiral Dexvar stared at his view screen in complete shock. His mouth fell open, revealing rows of sharp teeth. What just happened? Where did our weapons fire go? Commander Vextel frantically checked his instruments, hoping to find some explanation for what they had witnessed. "Sir, our sensors show direct hits on the human vessel. The plasma bolts struck their ship, but there is no damage reading, no energy discharge, nothing." "That is impossible," Dexvar snarled. "No ship can absorb that much firepower without taking damage. Fire again. All ships, concentrate fire on that vessel." The second barrage was even more intense than the first. Every weapon in the Vorthok fleet turned toward the Soul's Vengeance. Plasma cannons, particle beams, and fusion torpedoes filled space with deadly light. The combined firepower could have cracked a planet's crust. Again, the weapons simply vanished when they touched the human ship. On the bridge of the Soul's Vengeance, Defense Coordinator High 1 monitored the dimensional shields with professional satisfaction. Shield efficiency holding at 100%. The enemy weapons are not even registering as impacts. Commander Heyman nodded calmly. Humanity had spent decades perfecting dimensional shield technology. The barriers existed partially outside normal spacetime, making conventional weapons completely useless against them. The Vorthok might as well have been throwing rocks. "Sensor analysis, Jinwoo," Heyman requested. Sensor specialist Jinwoo studied the readings from the enemy fleet. Their technology is approximately 200 years behind our current standards. Plasma-based weapons, particle shields, fusion. Drives all very predictable and outdated. Science Officer Minesco looked up from her console with interest. "Commander, their shield frequencies are completely standard. No variations, no adaptive capabilities. Our weapons will pass through their defenses like they do not exist." Tactical Officer Biora highlighted enemy formations on the main display. They are maintaining attack patterns designed for conventional warfare. Massed firepower, overwhelming numbers, brute force tactics. They have no concept of how to fight an opponent with superior technology. Engineer Woojin monitored the ship's quantum systems with satisfaction. "All our technology is performing exactly as designed. Dimensional shields, quantum targeting, phase weapons. Everything the Vorthok used became obsolete the day humanity discovered how to manipulate fundamental reality." Weapons Officer Soyoung studied her targeting solutions with growing excitement. "Sir, I have clean shots on every enemy vessel. Their shields will not stop our quantum torpedoes. We can engage whenever you give the order." Communications Officer Teho intercepted panicked transmissions from the Vorthok fleet. "Commander, enemy communications are showing signs of confusion and fear. They are asking each other how we survived their attacks. Some ships are reporting weapon malfunctions." The artificial intelligence Yujin provided analysis in her calm voice. "Enemy fleet shows decreasing combat effectiveness due to psychological impact of failed attacks. Morale is dropping rapidly across all vessels." Admiral Vexvar paced his bridge like a caged predator. His officers watched him with growing concern as their leader struggled to understand what was happening. The greatest military force in Vorthok history had just fired everything they had at one small ship. That ship was completely undamaged. "Options?" Vexvar demanded. "Give me options. We could try ramming attacks," suggested Commander Vextel desperately. "Physical collision might succeed where energy weapons have failed. We could retreat and call for reinforcements," offered another officer. Perhaps with more ships we could overwhelm whatever technology they are using. Vexvar rejected both suggestions with angry gestures. Retreat was unthinkable. The Vorthok Empire did not run from battle. Ramming attacks would cost him dozens of ships and might not even work against whatever protective field the humans possessed. Continue firing, he ordered. All ships, maximum rate of fire. Their defenses must have limits. We will find those limits and exploit them. The Vorthok fleet renewed their attack with desperate intensity. Hundreds of weapons fired continuously, turning space into a storm of deadly energy. They threw everything they had at the human ship, hoping that sheer volume of fire might overwhelm its mysterious defenses. The Soul's Vengeance sat motionless in the center of the firestorm, completely untouched by the raging battle around it. The dimensional shields deflected every attack effortlessly. The ship's hull did not even warm up under the assault. Pilot Donghyun watched the enemy fleet's frantic attacks with something approaching pity. They really believe they can hurt us with those weapons. It is almost sad to watch. Medical Officer Yunji prepared her equipment out of habit, though she knew no human casualties were possible in this battle. Their technology is so far behind ours that this is not really a fight. It is more like a demonstration. Back on the world render, Admiral Vexvar was beginning to understand the true scope of his mistake. The humans were not primitive. They were not weak. They possessed technology so advanced that his entire fleet was powerless against them. "How long have we been firing?" he asked quietly. 12 minutes, sir," replied Commander Vextel. "No effect. On the enemy vessel, our weapon reserves are dropping rapidly." Vexvar looked at the tactical display showing his fleet's positions. 212 ships, the pride of the Vorthok military, reduced to helpless spectators in a battle they could not win. He had led them into a trap of his own arrogance. "Sir," called out the sensor operator, "the human ship is moving." On the Soul's Vengeance, Commander Heyman had decided the demonstration was complete. The Vorthok had seen that their weapons were useless. Now they would learn what human weapons could do. Soyoung prepared to engage. Target their destroyers. First, show them the difference between their technology and ours. Weapons Officer Soyoung's fingers moved across her controls with practiced skill. Quantum torpedoes, loaded and ready. Targeting solutions locked on enemy destroyers. "Awaiting your order, sir." The human ship began to move through space with impossible grace. It did not thrust forward like conventional vessels. Instead, it seemed to slide between dimensions, appearing and disappearing as it maneuvered through the Vorthok formation. Admiral Vexvar watched in horror as the human vessel approached his fleet like a predator stalking prey. His weapons could not touch it. His ships could not match its speed or maneuverability. He was about to witness the destruction of everything he had spent his life building. "All ships, evasive maneuvers," he ordered desperately. "Scatter formation. Do not present concentrated targets." But it was too late. The Soul's Vengeance had chosen its first targets. Commander Heyman gave the order that would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The first quantum torpedo launched from the Soul's Vengeance like a spear of pure light. Unlike the bright plasma bolts of Vorthok weapons, this projectile was barely visible to the naked eye. It moved through space as a shimmer in reality itself, a distortion that bent starlight around its passage. Weapons? Officer Soyoung watched her targeting display with professional focus. First, torpedo away. Target is the lead destroyer in Formation 7. The quantum torpedo struck the Vorthok destroyer, exactly where Soyoung had aimed. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the enemy ship simply ceased to exist. No explosion, no debris field. 1 second, there was a warship. The next second, there was empty space. Admiral Vexvar felt his blood turn cold as he watched one of his destroyers vanish. What happened to that ship? Where did it go? Commander Vextel stared at his instruments in confusion. "Sir, the ship just disappeared from all sensors. No explosion detected, no wreckage. It is as if it never existed." Time 0:30, Soyoung had already moved to her next targets, launching torpedo spread, 6 targets locked. 6 more quantum torpedoes streaked toward the Vorthok fleet. Each one found its mark with perfect accuracy. 6 more destroyers simply vanished from existence, leaving no trace they had ever been there. Science Officer Minesco explained quietly to the bridge crew. quantum torpedoes disrupt the fundamental bonds that hold matter together. The targets do not explode. They just stop being solid matter and return to basic energy. Tactical Officer Biora marked each destroyed ship on her display. 7 enemy vessels eliminated. Enemy formation is beginning to break apart in confusion. The Vorthok fleet was indeed falling into chaos. Ship captains screamed questions at each other over communication channels. How could an entire destroyer simply disappear? What kind of weapon could make a ship cease to exist? Time. 1 o'clock, the Vorthok cruisers finally reached firing range and unleashed everything they had at the human ship. Dozens of plasma cannons fired, at once, creating a wall of superheated energy that should have melted anything in its path. Defense Coordinator High 1 watched the enemy fire, impact their dimensional shields. Multiple hits registered. Shield efficiency remains at 100%. Enemy weapons continue to have no effect. Commander Heyman observed the enemy fleet's desperate attacks with calm detachment. Continue engaging targets, Soyoung. Focus on the cruisers now. Time. 1:15:08 quantum torpedoes launched simultaneously, each one targeting a different Vorthok cruiser. The enemy ships were larger and more heavily armored than the destroyers, but it made no difference. Quantum weapons ignored conventional defenses completely. 8 cruisers vanished in perfect silence. Their crews did not even have time to send distress signals before they simply stopped existing. Sensor specialist Jin Wu updated the tactical count. 15 enemy vessels eliminated. Enemy fleet cohesion is collapsing. Several ships are attempting to retreat. Admiral Vexvar could not believe what he was seeing. 15 of his ships had been destroyed in just over a minute, and the human vessel remained completely undamaged. His greatest military force was being picked apart. Like prey animals by a single predator, time 1:45, the Soul's Vengeance began to move again, sliding through space with impossible grace. Pilot Dong Hyen maneuvered the ship between enemy formations, making it impossible for the Vorthok vessels to concentrate their fire without hitting each other. Evasive maneuvers complete, Dong Hyen reported. We are now positioned for optimal targeting of their heavy cruisers. The Vorthok fleet tried desperately to track the human ship, but their targeting computers could not lock onto something that seemed to exist partially outside normal space. Their weapons fired wildly, missing by kilometers. Time, 2:00 Soyoung, launched another spread of quantum torpedoes, 12 torpedoes away, targeting enemy heavy cruisers and remaining destroyers. The weapons found their targets with perfect accuracy. 12 more Vorthok ships simply ceased to exist, leaving empty space. Where moments before, there had been thousands of tons of metal and hundreds of crew members. Communications. Officer Tahoe intercepted frantic enemy transmissions. Commander, the enemy fleet is reporting complete breakdown of command structure. Many ships are requesting permission to retreat. Time 2:30. Admiral Vexvar made a desperate decision. If conventional weapons could not hurt the human ship, perhaps the ultimate weapon could bring us about. Prepare the Planetkiller cannon. We will destroy them with our most powerful weapon. The massive world render turned toward the Soul's Vengeance, its enormous main gun beginning to charge with enough energy to crack a world in half. The weapon was the pride of Vorthok engineering, capable of destroying entire cities with a single shot. Engineer Wu Jin detected the energy buildup immediately. Commander, the enemy flagship is charging a massive directed energy weapon. Power levels are off the scale. Let them fire, Heyman replied calmly. It will make no difference. Time 2:45. The World Render's Planetkiller cannon fired with the fury of a dying star. A beam of pure energy, thick as a building and bright as a sun, lanced across space toward the human ship. The weapon carried enough power to vaporize anything. It touched the beam, struck the Soul's Vengeance directly. For a moment, space itself seemed to burn around the human ship as energies beyond imagination raged against its defenses. Then the beam simply stopped, absorbed harmlessly by the dimensional shields. Hywin checked her readings with satisfaction. Direct hit from their primary weapon. Shield efficiency remains at 100%, no damage to any ship systems. Time, 3 o'clock. Admiral Vexvar stared in absolute horror as his ultimate weapon failed completely. The human ship sat motionless in space, completely undamaged by a blast that could have destroyed planets. Impossible, he whispered. That weapon has never failed. Nothing can survive a direct hit from the Planetkiller. Commander Vextel had no answers for his admiral. Their most powerful weapon had been useless against the mysterious human technology. They were completely helpless. Time 3:15, So-Young targeted the Vorthok flagship with special attention. Commander, I have a clear shot at their command ship. One quantum torpedo will eliminate their entire leadership. Do it, Heyman ordered. The torpedo that ended Admiral Dexfer's life was no different from the others. It simply made his massive flagship cease to exist, along with everyone aboard. The pride of the Vorthok fleet vanished without a trace. Time 3:30, with their flagship gone, the remaining Vorthok ships fell into complete panic. Some tried to retreat, others fired wildly in all directions. A few simply stopped moving entirely, their crews paralyzed by fear. None of it mattered. So-Young methodically targeted each remaining ship, launching quantum torpedoes with deadly precision. One by one, the survivors vanished from existence. Time 3:45. Tactical Officer Biora counted the remaining enemy vessels. 23 ships left, Commander, all attempting to flee. Do not let any escape, Heyman ordered. This lesson must be complete. The Soul's Vengeance pursued the fleeing Vorthok ships with relentless efficiency. Its advanced propulsion allowed it to catch even the fastest enemy vessels with ease. Time 4 o'clock. The last Vorthok ship disappeared in the same silent way as all the others. Where moments before there had been the greatest military fleet in galactic history, now there was only empty space and drifting particles. So-Young powered down her weapon systems. All targets eliminated. Commander. Enemy fleet completely destroyed. The bridge fell silent as the crew absorbed what they had accomplished. In exactly 4 minutes, they had destroyed over 200 enemy warships without taking a single point of damage. Medical Officer Yunji made her report. No casualties on our side, Commander. All crew members in perfect health. Commander Heyman looked out at the empty space where the Vorthok fleet had been. For minutes, that was all it had taken to change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The silence that followed the battle was deeper than the void of space itself, where 212 Vorthok warships had once filled the darkness with their threatening presence. Now only empty space remained. Tiny particles of cosmic dust drifted where the greatest military fleet in galactic history had been destroyed in less time than it took to drink a cup of coffee. Commander, Heyman stood on the bridge of the Soul's Vengeance, looking out at the aftermath of their victory. His crew worked quietly at their stations, running post-battle diagnostics and monitoring the surrounding space for any signs of survivors. Sensor sweep complete, reported Jinwoo from his station. No intact enemy vessels detected. No life pods. No distress beacons. The quantum torpedoes left nothing behind. Tactical Officer Biora updated her final count on the main display. 212 enemy ships confirmed destroyed. Battle duration for minutes and 0 seconds. Human casualties 0. Damage to our vessel 0. The numbers were almost impossible to believe, even for those who had witnessed the battle firsthand. In 4 minutes, a single human ship had accomplished what should have been militarily impossible. They had faced odds of more than 200 to 1 and emerged without a scratch. Communications Officer Tae-ho monitored the communication channels across the system. Commander, I am detecting emergency transmissions from Vorthok colonies throughout their territory. They received automated distress signals from their fleet before the ships were destroyed. What are they saying? Heyman asked. Tae-ho translated. The alien communications with growing interest, panic, mostly. The colonies are reporting that their entire military fleet has been destroyed by humans. They are calling it impossible. Some are demanding confirmation because they refuse to believe the reports. Science Officer Menesio looked up from her analysis console. Commander, the quantum torpedo impacts created some interesting effects. The matter that was converted to energy has created small gravitational anomalies throughout the battle zone. Nothing dangerous, but detectable by advanced sensors. Engineer Wu Jin completed his system checks with satisfaction. All ship systems operating at peak efficiency. The dimensional shields never dropped below 100% capacity. The quantum drive is ready for immediate departure if needed. Medical Officer Yoonji finished her examination of the crew. All personnel in perfect health, no injuries, no stress reactions, no combat fatigue. The crew performed flawlessly under battle conditions. Weapons Officer So-young powered down her weapon systems for the first time since the battle began. Quantum torpedo launchers secured all targeting systems offline. We have plenty of ammunition remaining if needed. The artificial intelligence Yujin provided her final battle analysis. Combat effectiveness rating, maximum possible. Enemy fleet destruction, complete. Strategic objectives, achieved. Recommendation, mission successful. Pilot Dong Hyan maintained their position in the center of the former battle zone. Holding station, as ordered, Commander. All navigation systems ready for departure. Defense Coordinator Haiwan monitored the surrounding space for any new threats. Long-range sensors show no additional enemy forces approaching. The Vorthok appear to have committed their entire military to this battle. As the immediate aftermath of battle settled, Heyman reflected on what they had accomplished. This had been more than just a military victory. This had been a demonstration that would reshape the political landscape of the galaxy. Every species that had dismissed humanity as primitive and weak would need to reconsider their assumptions. Taeho, are you still monitoring Vorthok communications? He asked. Yes, sir. The transmissions are becoming more frequent and more desperate. Colony governors are trying to contact their military high command, but of course there is no one left to answer. The communications officer paused as he intercepted a new transmission. Commander, this is interesting. I am receiving a weak signal from somewhere in the debris field. Everyone on the bridge turned to look at Taeho. They had confirmed that no ships survived the battle. Where could a signal be coming from? Source of the transmission, Heyman asked. Very weak, but it appears to be coming from an escape pod. Someone survived the destruction of the Vorthok flagship. Jinwoo refined his sensor scan to focus on the area Taeho had indicated. Confirmed, small metallic object, approximately the size of an escape pod. Very faint life signs detected. Heyman considered his options. Humanity had rules about survivors of battle. Even enemies deserved rescue and proper treatment. Bring us alongside the escape pod. Prepare to take aboard any survivors. The Soul's Vengeance moved silently through the debris field toward the weak signal. As they approached, their sensors confirmed what they had detected. A single escape pod drifted helplessly in space, its occupant barely alive. Life support systems in the pod are failing, reported Yoonji as she prepared her medical equipment. Whoever is inside will not survive much longer without assistance. Bring them aboard, Heyman ordered. Full medical support. They are our prisoner now, but they deserve proper treatment. The escape pod was brought into the Soul's Vengeance's small cargo bay. When the pod was opened, they found Admiral Vex himself, barely conscious and badly injured from the destruction of his flagship. The proud leader of the Vorthok military was now a broken survivor. EU Unji worked quickly to stabilize the injured alien. He will live, but he needs immediate medical attention. Multiple injuries from the destruction of his ship. As Admiral Vex regained consciousness in the ship's medical bay, he found himself looking up at the faces of his enemies. The humans who had destroyed everything he had spent his life building stood around him, with expressions of professional concern rather than hatred. Why? He whispered in his own language. Why did you save me? Taeho translated the question for Commander Heyman, who considered his answer carefully before responding. Because that is who we are, Heyman replied simply. We do not kill helpless enemies, we do not abandon survivors. Even in war, we remain human. Admiral Vexfar listened to the translation with confusion. He had expected torture, execution, or at best, imprisonment. Instead, these humans were treating his injuries and offering him water. It made no sense, according to everything he knew about warfare. Your fleet is gone, Heyman continued. Your empire's military power is broken. But you are alive, and you have a choice to make. You can help us prevent future conflicts between our peoples, or you can continue to see us as enemies. The broken Admiral looked around the medical bay of the ship that had destroyed his entire fleet. Advanced technology surrounded him, equipment more sophisticated than anything in Vorthok space. These humans possessed power beyond his understanding, yet they chose to save his life rather than let him die. What do you want from me? Vexvar asked weakly. Information, Heyman replied. We want to know about other Vorthok forces. We want to know about other species that might threaten human colonies. We want to prevent more battles like this one. Admiral Vexvar closed his eyes and tried to process what had happened. 4 minutes ago, he had commanded the most powerful military force in known space. Now he was a prisoner aboard an enemy ship, being offered medical care and the chance to help prevent future wars. The galaxy needs to know what happened here, Heyman said quietly. They need to understand that humanity is not weak or primitive. We prefer peace, but we are capable of defending ourselves when necessary. The former admiral opened his eyes and looked directly at the human commander. For the first time, he began to understand what kind of species humanity really was. They were not conquerors or destroyers. They were protectors who possessed unimaginable power but chose to use it responsibly. Yes, Vexvar whispered, the galaxy needs to know. 3 days after the Battle of Kepler 442, the news had spread across every inhabited system in the galaxy. The story seemed impossible to believe. A single human warship had destroyed the entire Vorthok military fleet in 4 minutes. The species that most aliens considered primitive and backward had demonstrated technology beyond their wildest imagination. On the Vorthok homeworld of Vexar Prime, emergency sessions of the High Council continued around the clock. The proud empire that had ruled 3 star systems for 1,000 years faced complete collapse. Without their military fleet, they had no way to defend their colonies or maintain order. Council leader Vorthal, the Elder, stood before the assembled representatives with defeat written across his scaled features. The reports have been confirmed by Admiral Vexvar himself. Our entire battle fleet was destroyed by humans using weapons we cannot understand or defend against. The council chamber erupted in angry voices. Some members demanded immediate revenge. Others called for surrender. A few suggested fleeing to unexplored regions of space. None of them had any realistic solutions to their crisis. What are the humans demanding? Asked Councillor Prethex from the military committee. Nothing, Ortho replied, his voice heavy with confusion. They have made no demands for tribute, territory, or submission. They simply want us to leave their space alone and stop threatening their colonies. This news created even more confusion among the Vorthok leadership. Every species they knew would have used such overwhelming victory to conquer and enslave their enemies. The humans seemed content to simply be left in peace. Meanwhile, on dozens of other worlds throughout the galaxy, alien governments held emergency meetings to discuss what the human victory meant for their own plans and policies. Species that had been considering attacks on human colonies suddenly found other priorities. Trade negotiations that had been stalled for years were quickly reopened with generous terms offered to humanity. The Zelkuran Trade Federation called an immediate vote to grant humans full membership with preferred trading status. The Morphic Republic offered formal diplomatic recognition and mutual defense treaties. Even the mysterious Void Dwellers sent encrypted messages expressing interest in cultural exchange. On the bridge of the Soul's Vengeance, Commander Heyman received regular updates on the galactic reaction to their victory. Communications Officer Tejo translated messages from dozens of different species, all seeking to establish friendly relations with humanity. Sir, the latest diplomatic pouch from Earth Command contains 47 requests for trade agreements, 32 offers of military alliance, and 18 invitations to join various galactic organizations. Tejo reported with amusement. Science Officer Menesio looked up from her analysis station. It is remarkable how quickly the galactic political situation has changed. 3 days ago, most species barely acknowledged our existence. Now they are competing to become our allies. Engineer Wu Jin monitored the ship's systems as they patrolled the outer rim of human space. Commander, we are receiving priority communications. From Earth, Fleet Command wants a detailed technical report on our weapons performance during the battle. Send them everything, Heyman replied. Other human ships will need this information if they face similar threats. The Soul's Vengeance had become more than just a warship. It was now a symbol of human capability that deterred aggression throughout the galaxy. Reports of its patrol routes spread quickly, and hostile ships immediately changed course when they detected its presence. Admiral Vexvar, now recovered from his injuries and serving as an unofficial ambassador for his defeated people, spent His time learning about human culture and technology, the medical bay had been converted into comfortable quarters where he could study and communicate with Vorthok colonies. Commander Vexvar said during one of their regular conversations, "My people are still struggling to understand how you achieved such overwhelming victory. Our scientists have reviewed every detail of the battle, but our technology is too primitive to comprehend yours." Heyman considered how much information he should share. "Admiral, the key is not any single technology. It is our approach to scientific discovery. While other species focused on building bigger weapons and thicker armor, we explored the fundamental nature of reality itself. Dimensional manipulation," Vexvar said slowly. "Your shields and weapons operate outside normal spacetime. Among other things, yes. But the real advantage is our willingness to question everything we think we know about the universe. Most species reach a certain level of technology and then stop innovating. Humans never stop asking how things work. They can work better." Tactical Officer Biora interrupted their conversation with an urgent report. "Commander, long-range sensors are detecting multiple ships approaching our position. Configuration unknown." "Battle stations?" asked Weapons Officer Soyoung, her hand moving toward her control panel. "Wait," Heyman ordered. "Let us see what they want before we assume hostile intent." The approaching ships turned out to be a diplomatic convoy from the Galactic Cooperation Council, an organization that humanity had never been invited to join. Now they were coming to offer not just membership, but a permanent seat on the ruling committee. Ambassador Krethel of the Dimensional Assembly spoke for the group when they arrived. "Commander Heyman, on behalf of the Galactic Cooperation Council, I offer humanity full membership with all rights and privileges. We also invite your species to take a leadership role in maintaining galactic peace." "What changed your minds?" Heyman asked, though he already knew the answer. The Battle of Kepler 442 demonstrated that humanity possesses both the power to enforce peace and the wisdom to use that power responsibly. The galaxy needs leadership that can prevent conflicts before they begin. Admiral Vexvar watched the diplomatic proceedings with growing understanding of humanity's true nature. They could have used their victory to dominate the galaxy, but instead they chose to work for peace. They could have enslaved the Vorthok, but instead they offered aid and guidance. "Commander Vexvar," said privately after the diplomats had left, "I must ask you something that has troubled me since my rescue. Why did your people develop such advanced weapons if you prefer peace?" Heyman looked out at the stars before answering. "Because peace is only possible when good people have the power to defend it. Evil will always exist in the universe. Admiral, someone must be strong enough to stand against it." The former Vorthok leader nodded slowly. "And humanity has chosen to be that someone, not by choice, exactly. But when the alternative is allowing innocent people to suffer, the choice becomes clear." Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the ripple effects of the battle continued to spread. Pirate fleets disbanded rather than risk encountering human patrols. Slave trading operations moved to distant sectors far from human space. Aggressive empires reconsidered their expansion plans and focused on internal development. Instead, the Soul's Vengeance received new orders from Earth Command. Instead of returning home, they would continue patrolling the galactic rim, serving as both protector and deterrent. Other human ships were being equipped with similar technology and sent to guard different sectors. "How does it feel to have changed the galaxy in 4 minutes?" asked Medical Officer Yunji during a quiet moment on the bridge. Commander Heyman considered the question seriously. "Heavy," he replied. "We have great power now, and great responsibility. The galaxy will be watching everything we do from now." On sensor specialist Jinwoo detected another approaching ship on long-range scanners. Contact bearing 27 Mark IV, single vessel, broadcasting human identification codes. The newcomer was the HSS Busan, another human warship, equipped with the same advanced technology as the Soul's Vengeance. Its commander, Captain Liang, brought orders and news from Earth. "The Vorthok Empire has formally surrendered," Liang reported. "They are requesting human protection for their colonies in exchange for complete disarmament. Several other species have made similar offers, and Earth's response," Heyman asked. "Cautious acceptance. We will provide protection. But the terms are strict. No aggressive expansion, no slavery, no attacks on neutral species. The galaxy is getting a new set of rules, and we are the ones who will enforce them." As the two human ships took up patrol positions together, Admiral Vexvar made his final observation about the species that had defeated his empire so completely. "You know, Commander, I think the galaxy has been waiting for someone like humanity. For a very long time, someone with the power to enforce justice and the wisdom to use it properly." Heyman smiled slightly. "Then, I suppose it is fortunate that humans found their way to the stars when they did." The Soul's Vengeance continued its patrol through the endless night of space, carrying with it the hopes and fears of countless worlds. The galaxy had learned a new truth. Humanity did not seek war, but when war found humanity, it ended quickly. And in that ending, a new age of peace had begun.